also one that was in Ebbs. We used to live in Ebbs at the time. So yeah, she was a love of life. Like any moment, any time she would find to have people home, she would. She liked cooking and having people around and stuff like that. So before that I wasn't drinking. I didn't even have the desire. I found alcohol so strange and weird. First of all, the packaging. Not even the taste, the packaging. Did you see the beer bottles back in the day?
I know.
Things were not, they were not.
It was a gin. It was a mini gin.
It was ridiculous. And I don't know, I just didn't find it fascinating. Even the tasting, we know how they give babies kids to taste, nothing. So for me, it was just being introduced to it, given the opportunity to drink it.
But let's first go back. Now, I mean, you said by the time you left for Zambia, you were mad at your mom.
Yeah.
Didn't hug her, didn't say bye, didn't look back.
Yeah. And
then you come home and she's not there.
Yeah.
Had you carried anything nice?
Yes. Oh, she loved to cook all the time. I bought her a crockery and cutlery from some open market in Zambia. It was really cool. It had like I can't call it gemstones. I don't know what they had, but they were really shiny and colorful. And
where did you put, when you were unpacking? Where did you put them?
I put them in my dad's room.
How did you feel?
I was heartbroken.
Dad, you haven't talked about Dad, by the way.
Dad.
He's like one of the missing things in the story so far.
Dad is coming.
So
yeah.
Because why I'm bringing this up is because this is going to live with you for the rest of your life.
Of course.
Yeah. That I was mad because it happens to every one of us.
Yeah.
Things we regret. Yeah. That you stormed away.
Yeah.
Then you reconsidered right away.
Right.
And you came back and the person was not there. Have you forgiven yourself?
I had to.
How long did it take? Because now I'm thinking now this is where the wound begins. Yes.
No, it took me a long time actually. There would be times I would just be like even more than 10 years later, I would be like in the kitchen chopping onions and I just start thinking about my mom and I just start bawling and crying. And then I would, try to lie to myself, it's the onions. Because, I don't like onions. First of all, I don't like onions at all. And I'm like, che, you had chanago, it's the onions, bikawa. You understand? But I knew that my mom's death was a hole that was there. But I had to come to a point of realization that there's nothing you can do about some things. As in, she's gone. The Lord has taken her, there's nothing you can do. There's a scripture that actually says, precious is the day in the Lord's sight in Psalms that the saints return to Him. So you who's over mourning, it's like you're saying that person is more important to you than God. You understand? You just have to come to that point of knowing even your day is coming. So if possible, even be able to prepare your children for that.
Did you ever share with your mom? Because by now we've come to realize that substance abuse is often self-medication for a soul wound, like a hole and a void. If we are giving your mom grace, that there was something that drove her that way, because you said she was a lover of life, and yet here she was in a depressive state. Did you ever get to know what was hurting her?
I actually never did. And that's actually the strange thing, because it's like she just switched. It's like the way for her it unfolded, it was weird. I don't even think it was just addiction. I think there was even a bit of like bipolar in there, because she used to have these mood swings that were just ridiculous, that you just could not explain. And I think it was much more than addiction. And also coming to the understanding that addiction is not the problem, it's the symptom of something deeper. I do know that she was struggling with something, but being the kid in the house, I was like, I was 11, I was 12. What are you going to tell your 11 or 12-year-old daughter? How are you going to share with her? After school, she would carry me to the bar with her. I did my homework in bars so many times. I got life training in bars. So she would carry me and buy me like chicken. She would tell me, what do you want to eat and drink? Like I'll tell her chips and chicken and soda. And soda. And I would sit there till 10 and she would be there with her friends with that beer bottle. What was it called? Chairman ESB. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was a heavy one.
And they would be watching those telenovelas. And at that time, that's when there's a lot of load shedding. So it was like an excuse. She drives from Green Hill. We reach that car junction. She sees there's no power to cancel. House bar. I'll never forget.
House bar.
Yeah. I don't know, it's not called deuces or some.
But you're trained.
But ample life training, so really.
Lawrence, does this conversation bring up something in your mind?
Like I said earlier on, I'm missing dad.
Dad is coming.
Because he's absent all along. You've been talking about mom.
Yeah.
I mean, also the fact that
Snippets of dad.
This is a men's show.
Right.
Somehow we tend to think like that. But I'm mirroring because your experience is not unique to you as a woman. On the contrary, there are so many men dealing with this. And if we go back to the statistic, it tells you that 14 million Ugandans are dealing with mental illness. But then there's another statistic that shows that 54% of domestic violence victims are women, which makes men the perpetrators.
Yeah.
And there is a link that shows that that someone who acts out violently at home or in a relationship, 1 out of 5 times they are dealing with a mental illness issue. So this thing that we're talking about that you are going through, for example, and you're telling us a story of your mother, to be honest, it's a story of many of us men. Yeah. And this makes me ask, because we talked about this recently, last year, I am my father's son. And we were talking earlier that sometimes what you were going through could have been a fruit of a root that was planted ages before.
Right.
Yeah. And which makes it a bit harder. And then, like you were saying, tell us about your dad. Because dads don't love their daughters.
Yeah.
I'm imagining him saying,
I was always a daddy's girl. That when even family members complained, they fought, nothing. Yeah. I'm the last born, so my father doted on me so much. My father, for as far as from the time I was born, I've never seen my father drink. But according to my older siblings, right before I was born, all those years before I was born, my father was a heavy alcoholic. Which for me,
talk about a captain like that.
I mean, it's the truth. What? You want me now to hide things? But I mean, it's also something that's very common with, I mean, even with the pilots that I've interacted with. It's a common thing. I think it's like work stress or something. Yeah. But around the time I was born, somehow he stopped drinking, and then my mom started drinking. My mom never used to drink before, which is why whenever I tell my siblings, they keep asking me, how was mom? Because they went to the US and the UK when I was young.
Before mom started drinking, they
yes, around that time. So when they ask me how did mom even start drinking, me, I ask them, how did you guys even not see mom drink? Like, it's all she could do. Yeah. And then they said, but you never saw dad drink. I was like, dad can't even sit next to an empty beer bottle.
Yeah.
So, they don't understand that bit. And dad, for me, I grew up seeing dad as, straight, logical guy, very reserved, speaks when spoken to. He doesn't have that idle banter, speaks when spoken to.
Yeah.
So, my dad is a retired pilot. So he worked for Uganda Airlines for a bit, and then in 2001 he got transferred to Kenya Airways. Now, when he started working in Kenya Airways, he had to move to Nairobi. So at this point, my elder brother, who I used to live with in the house, has gone to boarding school, S1, and now I'm in the house with mom. So I really was in proximity with each and everything. Yeah, so dad would come home for like a week. After, like, in a space of 3 months, he would come home for like a week, and then he goes and comes back for like a week, like that. Yeah. But he was really a calm, cool, and reserved guy. I'm very sure he was aware that his wife had a problem, but even he didn't know what to do.
Because, I feel like that.
Because I really, even in my old age, I don't know what I would do if I had a spouse and then all of a sudden they just start drinking and me I stop.
That's a dichotomous
How does
situation.
that? It's ridiculous. And the funny
There's
thing
gotta
is,
be a trigger somewhere.
There was, but you see, I was literally a fetus.
Yeah,
you get?
you wouldn't know.
I don't know. And I would really love to walk up to my father and say, "Oh, but really, I don't want to be that child. So what happened? Why? Yeah, not going to be me." So that also comes with making peace with things.
But do you think that he has unresolved pain as well?
Of course he does. The thing is, we all have unresolved pain, but we listen, there's no choice. This section has no objectives in ABCD. You have to make peace with the things you cannot change that have happened.
Wow. I think on that note, let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to hear more from Rebecca, because this is such a fascinating story.
Welcome to The Solutions Nuggets, a reflection on societal issues where men are involved in one way or another.
Hello world. I welcome you to The Solutions Nuggets today on the Solid Jama's show. And today we are contemplating the mandate of a man, understanding what is the design and the use of a man's life. And I want to elevate your minds to this question. When the Bible tells us in James chapter 1 verse 27 that this is true and pure religion, to look after the fatherless and the widows and to keep oneself pure from the secular world. And the more I've contemplated that, I came to a realization that God created religion to stand in for the world where men are absent. And what a powerful concept that is. And as a Solid Jamaa, when we think about the fact that we were created in the image of God, we were created to be the carriers and the containers of the nature and the character of God, then it means that the world is looking and waiting for God to turn up in the man that you are, in the man that I am. And you'd think that that is such a very difficult thing to do. But today I want you to ask yourself, why you might have been living from a selfish point of view, where it's all about you, it's all about what you want and what you get out of life. I want you to contemplate this thing. What can I do for you? What can you do for someone? Wake up in the morning and instead of begging God, ask Him, what can I do for you today? Because God has put it in you to create and to propagate His nature, His will, and His power wherever you are, from your home to your community to your workplace. People are waiting to see the nature of God in the Solid Jamaa that you are. And it takes a very simple step to get there. Just you waking up in the morning and asking God, what can I do for you today? Please send me. Here I am. Use me. You'll be amazed, because you are created above all things for the cause of God to be revealed through you where you are. So try that and get back to us. I remain Ngonzi, the solution. Whatever I do, this all is compelled by love for God and His people. Blessing.
This has been The Solutions Nuggets here on Solid Jamaas. Well, we're back after the break, and we're here in the show Solid Jamaa. We're talking to Rebecca Che Guevara. Remember that name?
Of course.